All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's up, guys? Rio here. Going to be breaking down the 7-game Saturday slate. Feeling a little bit under the weather today, so I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. As always, hit the like and subscribe button. Definitely helps us out a ton. Move this out of the screen real quick. There we go. Yeah, definitely good slate here. A nice 7-game slate on this Saturday. First game kicking off the night for us. San Antonio Spurs taking on the Washington Wizards. 242 over under with the Wizards favored by 3. Should definitely be a good game to attack. Got two awful defenses facing off against each other. Spurs will be getting Victor Wembanyama back tonight. He's in a great spot versus this Wizards defense that ranks dead last in rim defense and dead last in DVP to the center position. So definitely like him a lot as a spend-up option. I think Devin Vassell is a great option too, 6.6K. Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, Jeremy Sochan, definitely all in good spots here in a pace-up spot. So I like all of those guys. I think this is definitely a game to attack. Probably going to want a guy from both sides on tonight's slate. On the Wizards side, Kyle Kuzma is the high upside spin-up option. He gets a great matchup versus the Spurs defense that allows a ton of points to three-point shooters. I think that he's in a really good spot, 8.4K, very reasonable. Tyus Jones, when he's been getting the minutes, he's been crushing, 6.3K in a good spot. He's flashed really big upside the last 2 games. He's gotten 31, 37 minutes, had 15 assists. Last game versus the Knicks as well. So don't mind him at 6.3K. Marvin Bagley going to continue to get all the center minutes that he can handle. This Wizards team is going to be without Daniel Gafford again, so he's going to start. And I mean, in his first game with his new team, got to 39 minutes, and he should benefit from a pace-up spot. I think that he's a great play at 5K. Would not mind a little bit Jordan Poole either. This could be a spot that he could definitely attack versus this Spurs team that's a terrible three-point defense. So I don't mind Jordan Poole at 5.9K. But yeah, definitely a good game to attack. First one on the slate. So I definitely like both sides of that game. Next one, we got Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Charlotte Hornets with 228 over under. Philadelphia favored by 10. On the Philly side, it's really just Embiid or bust. I'm seeing him with a Q tag listed right now, so we'll have to monitor that, but I would expect him to play. He beats up on bad matchups all the time, so he's in a really good spot at 11.5K. This Hornets defense is just terrible. Bottom 5 rim defense, bottom 2 in DVP to center position, so he's in a great spot. On the Hornets side, LaMelo Ball got a midday downgrade with an ankle injury, which is something he's dealt with a lot in his young career. So if he were to miss, then we could look to a bunch of guys on this Hornets side. Terry Rozier would obviously see, his role tick up from a usage and ball handling standpoint. He would be a great play at 7.6K. I think Ish Smith and Nick Smith Jr. would both see extended run too at the point guard position, so they'd be viable spend down options as well. Would not mind them. And then guys like Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, Brandon Miller would all see a usage uptick as well. If Nick Richards were to miss here, then we can go right back to PJ Washington, 5.4K. But if Embiid is in, don't like the matchup for him as much. Embiid is just an elite foul drawer, so would be a really tough spot for him if he were to be starting at the center position. But definitely got to keep an eye on the injury designations for that game. Next one on the slate, Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Atlanta Hawks. 229 over under Cleveland, favored by 3. Also another injury spot with Trae Young listed questionable. He missed last night, and DeJounte Murray was given the reins as the lead point guard for this Hawks team. If Trae Young were to miss, I think that DeJounte Murray is a fine play at 8K. Yeah, he's definitely got plenty of upside at that price tag, and it is a tougher matchup versus this Cleveland defense that has been one of the better teams all season long. They've held up even without Evan Mobley and Darius Garland out of the lineup too. So it is a tougher matchup, but I think that he's going to see all the usage he can handle. So DeJounte Murray would definitely be fine. It would be fine going back to Sadiq Bey and Bogdanovic at 5.9K and 5.5K. But Bogdanovic did get also a midday downgrade with a knee injury, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not seeing it listed, but I think that he got downgraded. Oh, here it is, ankle injury. So yeah, if he were to miss, and Trae Young were to be out, Garrison Matthews, min priced, I guess he would be in play. Trent Forrest, 3.8K. I think Patty Mills would even see extended run. But probably just they'll condense the rotation a lot more and give guys that are in just all the minutes that they can handle. Atlanta's been known to run a pretty tight rotation, around 7 to 8 guys most nights. But yeah, on the Cleveland side, it's a really good spot for pretty much everybody. Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, Max Strus, Sam Merrill, all in play here. The Hawks have been one of the worst defenses overall this season. They're bottom 5 defensive rating, bottom 2 rim defense, bottom 8 3-point defense, and bottom 3 in transition defense. So Donovan Mitchell in a really good spot here. Same goes for Jared Allen. I think that he's kind of turned the corner as a he's been doing more with the assist numbers have ticked up. His scoring has been up lately. I think that he's got a ton of upside at 8K. I like him a lot, but yeah, we should see Sam Merrill get some extended run too with Karis LeVert listed doubtful. It's a really good matchup for 3-point shooters and pace-up spots. I think that Sam Merrill is firmly in play as a value option at 4.3K. That's going to do it for that game. Move on to Toronto versus the New York Knicks. Got Toronto, or 229 over-under. Knicks favored by 8. Got a couple of revenge spots here. OG Anunoby, RJ Barrett, Mano quickly going to take on their former teams here. Raptors defense has really fallen off since the OG Anunoby trade. They've been giving up a ton of 3-point shots. Rim defense has been terrible as well without Jakob Poeltl down there. So, yeah, the Knicks are in a really good spot here. I think Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle have a ton of upside at their respective price tags. I would probably want to be a max one of those two unless you're getting into a full game stack situation, but they're both firmly in play at 8.8 and 8.7K. I think I slightly prefer Jalen Brunson in this matchup. Just kind of the Raptors defense kind of funneling to 3-point shooters a little bit more, and I think Brunson has a little bit more chops there in terms of 3-point shooting. Hartenstein, he's fine. He's kind of just a cash game option, almost 7K. I don't know how much upside he realistically has there in this type of matchup, but I think that he's totally fine at 6.8K. Yeah, I don't mind OG Anunoby either at sub 6K, 5.9K for him. He's been playing a ton of minutes since he entered the starting rotation for this Knicks team. Played 43 plus minutes in 3 straight games. Probably going to be extra motivated going against his former team. So I think OG makes a ton of sense here tonight. Small forward and power forward eligible as well. If Josh Hart were to miss, Dante DiVincenzo minutes would be a lot safer. He saw 38 minutes last game with no Josh Hart. So I think that he would be a fine option. And yeah, like I mentioned, the Raptors defense have been funneling to 3-point shooters. So I think that he has a little bit of upside at 5.8K. On the Raptors side, really just looking to Scotty Barnes here, 8.3K. He got more usage last game with the Pascal Siakam trade happening and this team being a little bit thinner. But yeah, he's got a really solid price tag, 8.3K. He's shown a pretty high ceiling too in certain matchups. So I think that he's totally fine. Don't love this matchup for RJ Barrett as much. He's probably gonna, I would imagine OG Anunoby would be on him defensively. So don't love the matchup for him. I think Quickly is probably the preferred option for $100 more, 7K. I think that he's got a better matchup. We should see a lot of Jalen Brunson on defense. I think that he could exploit that a little bit. But yeah, I like Scotty Barnes and Quickly on the Raptors side. Next game, got the Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Chicago Bulls. 216 over under. Chicago favored by 7.5. Yeah, going to be a slow-paced game, but both these teams have pretty solid value options. We know the Grizzlies are going to be without John Morant, Desmond Bane, and the Bulls will now be without Zach LaVine for about a week. So should see usage funnel to the big three in Vucevic, DeRozan, Kobe White. But on the Grizzlies side, Jaren Jackson Jr. is taking on a much bigger offensive workload without Bane and John Morant. I think that he's a good option, sub 8K. This Bulls defense has been more vulnerable to 3-point shooters. So I think that Jaren Jackson, if the shot is falling, could have a pretty big upside at sub 8K. I think Vince Williams is good, 6.1K. Luke Kennard, like I just mentioned, the Bulls defense vulnerable to 3-point shooters. I think that he's in a good spot. He got the start at the point guard position last time out, so I think that he's pretty safe from a minute standpoint. And Xavier Tillman also got a midday downgrade to questionable. So if he were to miss, the Grizzlies would be extremely thin at the center position. So you have to see guys like David Roddy step up, Santi Aldama, Gregory Jackson probably going to play more minutes as well. I think Santi Aldama is a great value option at 4.4K and would be even better if Xavier Tillman were to miss. I like him a ton, and he's a pretty solid 3-point shooter as well. So I think the matchup is good for him. On the Bulls side of things, DeMar DeRozan has been the one that's benefited the most from a usage standpoint without Zach LaVine on the court this season. All these guys have really solid price tags, and the matchup is not all that bad. The Grizzlies' interior defense has fallen off since they got rid of Bismack Biyombo. They've been vulnerable to 3-point shooters all season long, so I think that Kobe White makes a ton of sense, 7.1K. He would probably be my preferred option. I think he's got a ton of upside. Going to play huge minutes too with no Zach LaVine, but all these guys make sense. Vucevic, DeRozan, Kobe White. I probably want to be max 2 of the 3. And then if I have to, I probably want to be full stacking this and just hope that the game stays close. Grizzlies have been pretty competitive lately. They kept the game close enough last night versus the Timberwolves, I believe. So definitely would be boosting up your upside in terms of a correlation standpoint. And Patrick Williams, 4.1K if he plays, totally fine value option. Been a little bit better with LaVine off the court too, so I think that he's just fine. 4.1K hasn't really shown great upside, but he'll get the start. Should see good minutes. Next game, Oklahoma City taking on Minnesota Timberwolves. 229 over under. Minnesota favored by 3. This is kind of a stay away game for me. This is two really solid defenses. SJ going to get a really tough matchup versus Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards type guys. So really tough matchup for him, but 10.3K is a pretty reasonable price tag. I think that I would slightly lean with the Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey side of things. Jalen Williams has just been on a roll lately, scoring no less than 44 DraftKings points in 4 of his last 7 games. Been nearing 50 in a couple of those games as well. So I think that he's a totally fine option at 7K. Giddey, a little bit less so. I mean, he got up to 30 minutes last game, and he's always been a really solid fantasy point per minute producer, has triple-double upside, got up to 44 DK points last game versus Utah, but Lou Dort was out there, so I think that he probably goes back to seeing 24 to 26 minutes. But I think that he's a fine last piece in type guy at 6K. Really not too excited about anybody on the Oklahoma City side. Not really into Chet Holmgren either. Tough matchup versus Rudy Gobert. And on the Wolves side, I think Anthony Edwards, Towns, and Rudy Gobert are all still a little bit too cheap. Oklahoma City has been struggling a little bit defensively. They're giving up a ton of three-point shots to opposing teams right now. So I think Anthony Edwards makes sense. 8.4K. I think when the price tags are this close with Ant and Karl-Anthony Towns, $500 apart, I would just side with Anthony Edwards. But Cat makes sense to his last man in, power forward, center eligible. Rudy Gobert has been awesome lately too. Been playing a ton of minutes, close to 40 most nights in a close game. 47, 45, 46 and a half, 50, 46 DK points were his last 5 games. So I think that he's totally fine. And the Oklahoma City rim defense has not been that great with Chet Holmgren down there. So I think that Rudy Gobert is fine. Last game of the night, Utah Jazz taking on the Houston Rockets. 238 over and under. Houston favored by 2. I think this is a pretty good game to attack. On the Jazz side, kind of tough. They're spreading out the rotation. No guys is seeing more than 32, 33 minutes in a game. So I think that it's kind of tough to pinpoint which guys are going to be the ones to go off. But I think my favorite would be Colin Sexton. He's just been playing amazingly over the last 20, 21 games or so that the Jazz have been on this hot streak. And the on-ball defense for the Rockets have fallen off a little bit. They got Dylan Brooks back, which would make things tougher for him, but not too certain that Dylan Brooks would be on Colin Sexton. I think he might guard Lauri Markkanen. Actually, no, I take that back. Brooks would probably be on Colin Sexton, and Jabari Smith would be on Lauri Markkanen, I would assume. It's a tougher matchup, but Sexton has just been shooting the ball extremely well lately and even got up to 34 minutes last game, 42 and 45 DK points in the last 2 games as well. So I think that he is a good play at 6.1K. Not too interested in many other guys on the Jazz side. I think Walker Kessler is an okay spend down option, 4.3K. Should see around 20 to 24 minutes off the bench. So I think he's fine. I do have a lot of interest on this Rockets side, though, mainly in Fred VanVleet, 7.3K. He shot the ball pretty poorly this season, but this is way too good of a matchup for him. The Jazz always lack with on-ball defense and transition defense. They're a huge three-point funnel as well, so I think Fred VanVleet has a ton of upside, 7.3K. He's probably my favorite point per dollar play on this slate. Sengun, a little bit worse of a matchup for him, but he projects really well for us right now, 8.1K. Jazz have been a little bit better defensively guarding the rim, but he can get done in multiple ways. So I think that he's a totally fine option, 8.1K. And Jabari Smith, Jalen Green, still like they're pretty cheap as well for their upsides in this type of matchup. So I think that they make a ton of sense too. But yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank you for bearing with me while I'm sick right now. But yeah, pretty good Saturday slate. Hope that everybody has a successful and fun weekend. Yeah, see you guys on Tuesday. Later, guys.